Welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness, thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
Good moment, and welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness. This is Barnet Bain, and I'm here with my co-host,
Freeman Michaels,
who is indeed here live.
100%
It's
present,
not
buddy.
a cardboard replica this week.
That's right.
I have a
Last week,
great
maybe.
picture, actually, that I took of myself with those stewardesses that are, those
I
cardboard.
saw that picture.
Those
I
cardboard.
love that. That was
yes.
coming back from Bali or something,
Yeah, it
right?
was great. It was
That was
just
nice.
it's great. It looks like I made friends.
You did.
Totally.
Barnett's got a bunch of cardboard friends. No, that's not true.
Well, there's Colonel Saunders, and there's a whole bunch of everybody for like all the chipmunks.
Yeah.
all of them.
Good
So,
times.
wow, there's just so much good stuff going on in the
There
world now.
is.
So much. It's just a more loving place.
Yeah, there's so many ways to tap into the wisdom and the guidance, and you've said many times it's who we hang out with.
We become who we're with.
Yeah, and it's the consciousness that we spend time with. It's where we organize and orient our attention towards, right? Because energy follows attention. So I personally, for me, having materials around me that reflect back and represent where I want to be living my life energetically,
yes.
where I want to be investing my energy,
Yes.
what I want to be creating. It's the reminders, the rigor with which the reminders for me need to be there. Right?
And there's some discernment about who you're with and what you're
Absolutely.
around. So, what a great segue, because we have our great friend on, a friend of Cutting Edge Consciousness, who is one of the litmus tests.
Yeah, one of those folks you want to spend time with.
Well, one of those folks who also has an ability to discern.
Yeah.
And when Jennifer McLean, presents a speaker or a teacher or refers us to a book or a resource, we understand that there is some discernment in there.
Yeah.
And so I'm very, very pleased, and particularly pleased today to be able to welcome Jennifer McLean, who is the creator and the founder of Healing with the Masters, here on Cutting Edge Consciousness. Jennifer,
Welcome to the show,
wow,
Jennifer.
can't believe you're here.
Yay!
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be here.
You made
Thank
it.
you so much for welcoming me to this wonderful Cutting Edge Consciousness. I love that. And here we are, cutting edges.
We are. Here we are on the we're so far out now, and it was not long ago that this cutting edge that we are on was not even a dream. It was beyond our ability to even perceive or conceive of the kind of life and the kind of interests and the kind of passions that not only are we so committed to now, but that, your entire life is really formulated around both learning and providing an arena for others to discover these learnings.
Yeah, I committed to a declaration several years ago. It's actually 2003 was the first time I wrote one. In 2006, I refined it with the discernment I had gained in those years. And essentially, I'm here to be a conduit and amplifier to share mine and others' sacred visions, and to change perceptions on this planet and create global peace. No small effort, but I have to tell you, when I claimed that declaration, my entire life changed, and I moved from being a participant, someone who was kind of on the sidelines, reading lots of books and really learning and growing on my own, to an active leader and participant in a whole new way, becoming a teacher and a true conduit and amplifier, sharing the most remarkable healers on the planet, the masters on this planet, with a global audience. And when you step up, I'm telling you, your life changes, and it also reflects the teachings that you're sharing and the teachings that you're learning.
Well, you're an embodied teacher. You're sorry, go ahead.
No. No, I'm
You went from spectator to spect-actor.
Indeed, and now to spectacular.
Yes.
Spectacular, yes.
And the
I
power
love
of
that.
the power of the Declaration. I want to make a special note of that because in history we have a beautiful example of this in the Declaration of Independence.
Yep.
They didn't say, "Okay, we're mad at England. We're going to declare war." They declared these truths, right, to be self-evident that all men are created equal, and they're endowed with certain inalienable rights: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. So the power of that declaration lives today. It's something that we're working to live up to, whether we're there or not as a nation, I don't know, or as a collective, I don't know. But in my own life, that is powerful. And to the degree I have proclaimed or declared out in the world, here's what I'm up to. I'm with you. The game changes because that level of commitment now is reorganizing. Essentially, my behaviors, my choices, my actions are either in alignment with that or they're not. It becomes that clear, right?
Absolutely. And not only that, it becomes a filter upon which you can move through your life in a much more graceful and easy way. You can look at people and who you're willing to play with and who you're not willing to play with based on your declaration.
In or out. It's either a distraction or it's in alignment.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And it becomes incredibly and increasingly clear. And it's interesting, you said about the Declaration of Independence, that's such a beautiful example. And you said, whether we're there or not. Well, here's the deal. I believe that we're probably not. There's no there there.
Yeah.
So it's a creation. It's an organic creation that's always in the works. And the cutting edge of consciousness. There's a challenge within that sometimes too, because people think that sometimes there's a destination in our spiritual process, and there isn't. The destination is the journey. The destination is life, and the United States is a perfect example of something that's constantly being created. And when we declare something, that declaration has colors and flavors and seasons. And I know that now. And so when I created the declaration, I actually wanted something from it, and now I just let it be. And let it be me, and let it be my, I have this new thing called my success signature, and let it be the energetic signature of my human potential. That's what the declaration feels like to me.
That is so beautiful. You said when you created it, you wanted something, and that's fine.
Yep.
And knowing you, I also experienced that while it is fine to want something, you also are such it has lifted to a wanting to serve.
Oh, no question.
And the want has evolved into a fire of service.
Indeed.
It really is like you are like a fire hose of service.
And spread around too, because we both really were grateful to witness the work you've done with our friend Cynthia Kersey, and just how it extends out is a powerful demonstration of your declaration.
Exactly, and how peace can show up on the planet, and so in ways that we can't even imagine when we create these declarations, when we create these moments of wanting. Those moments of wanting then guide us to new ways of being, truly. And I love that service was actually something I added in 2006, and it wasn't an orientation that was very comfortable for me. I was definitely a little bit more ambitious in corporate America, and I was just, I wanted something. I wanted success. I was ambitious, and I wanted to break through that glass ceiling. And when I put service in there, everything changed. And that service-oriented aspect has now completely rearranged my way of being, so that, there's so much more grace in my life because of service. It's the weirdest thing. Things don't bother me as much, because it's like I'm here in service. If that's not working for you, it's okay.
That's gorgeous. It's a tricky one. I find that I have levels. I'll sort of settle into a comfortable intimacy with service, and then like a lobster in a pot, the fire gets a little hotter under me, and I start bubbling, and then suddenly I notice, well, my service is it's not a palm down giving, it's a palm up giving. I suddenly realize, well, I'm giving, but I have a stealth agenda, but I'm giving so that what am I going to get on the other side?
Yes.
And then there is what is the speed of balance by which I can make peace with that, love it, let it be. It's okay, and then that settles out, and then suddenly I discover, wow, I'm in another comfortable place, and it spirals, and it spirals and spirals and spirals. It's, as you say, there is no end point.
Yeah, and it's really cool. This is what a cool conversation. You guys are so cool. Oh my gosh.
We went to cool school.
Now we know you're coming back.
Yeah, right?
You said the magic words. Now you're back.
So martyrdom, service does not have to be martyrdom.
No.
And in fact, I think that it's okay to even, I'm a big fan of experimenting and playing. Mm-hmm. So, if service is becoming a little bit too hot because maybe you're feeling depleted, then that's a moment to play with it and say, well, what is service really to me? And I play a lot with this notion of a value exchange. I believe it's a universal truth that when you give something of value, you receive in return. It might not be a direct receive, though, and that's where we get confused from our three-dimensional thinking. Mm-hmm. That when we give, like when I support Cynthia, mm-hmm. my business grows, and that's not why I'm supporting Cynthia.
Yeah,
Cynthia's
that's the trick.
Foundation.
Yeah, that's the trick, because we do trip over our small story. We trip over our outcome thinking, and so part of this actually even tracks back. There's qualities in your aspiration, right? That's expansive. Mm-hmm. The nature mm-hmm. of it is expansive. I mean, your wisdom and going into it that way said, all right, I know this is going to break me open.
Yes, at some level. And I was at an event recently, and the teacher basically someone was talking about, well, what about my drive and my ambition? And they pointed at them and said, that's ego. And I pointed at them a few minutes later and said, what if that ego was actually there driving you to what's next in a non-ego state?
Beautiful.
What if there was a purpose to that ego and ambition? And I reflected that in my own being, in my own life, that there's no way I could have gotten here and be as successful and reach 500,000 people around the globe with Healing with the Masters if I had not been ambitious. Now that ambition has turned into more of a service-oriented process. But, honoring the steps that got you to where you're at is, I think, part of that discernment that you were talking about earlier.
And certainly there is nothing inherently positive or negative or ego-tucked about ambition or any other drive. Mm-hmm. The intentionality that underpins it can be one thing or the other. But when ambition in the service of ego lifts to the octave of ambition in the service of compassion, connection, community, up-leveling, uplifting.
Love it.
We are in the thrill and the thrall of our passion, and that's Jennifer McLean.
And when we so this is really important. When we make it right or wrong or good or bad, we're limiting the possibility versus standing in the middle of paradox, that it can fall on either side of the page, and it might. In one moment it might be shadow play, and the other moment it might be for the greatest good. Mm-hmm. And look, this is all part and parcel of the journey. When Barnet was talking about his open palm service, noting he's doing that, it's okay. It's still well-intended, mm-hmm. but there's the opportunity to track back and clean it up a little. And we're always doing that. That's the whole point I think you were making, was saying it's not a destination, it's a process.
That's right, always. And I don't know why, but it made me think about the fact that when we're in this exploration of the light, this exploration of lightening up, of evolution, that it brings the imperfections to the surface. Light brings the dark to the surface. It's like, the flotsam and jetsam of our junk shows up when we're exploring our light. So in that exploration of the light, in that exploration of service, we're going to have those wonderful moments like you just shared, where we're going to be exploring what's working and what's not working. And the opportunity now, I think, with everyone on the planet, especially those who are on a journey listening to this show, is to move into a place of allowing and space and not judgment and compassion for ourselves on our own journey as we play with these notions and these ideas.
And that's the nature of a vision that's expansive enough to hold it all, a declaration that's expansive enough to hold it all. That's kind of the piece I was making. Listen, we unfortunately have come to the end of our time today, but I'm looking forward, Jennifer, to another day when we can have you back.
In studio.
Yeah, we got to get you in studio.
I want to, before we go, I just wanted to acknowledge what a lover you are. I hope that doesn't sound inappropriate to our
I like
listeners.
it.
This is,
It feels good.
And we also want to direct folks to your work. So
Sure.
let's give them the website.
Sure, it's www.healingwiththemasters.com is the best way. That's our free series. It's so interesting that you said lover because Ram Dass was on recently, and I claimed a role that is I am officially a lover of life, of trees, of being.
And we love having you here. So with that,
you so
you are
much.
invited back. And for those of you listening, you are invited back. We'll be here again next week. So keep tuning in to Cutting Edge Consciousness.